Team, leader of a racing revolution.
This film is about automobile racing. Automobile racing is more than just a man driving very fast and brave around a racetrack. Auto racing, you know, is really a laboratory for development of better, safer, more durable vehicles. More than that, it provides better and more varied products of many kinds to ensure the life and safety of automobiles. Our STP Racing Organization has spent years and millions in pursuit of such accomplishments. We are often frustrated, sometimes frightened, sometimes we're saddened. And of course, there are those wonderful moments of elation and triumph, moments we knew when we introduced the first successful turbine race car to the world racing scene. These are some of the things seldom seen by racing fans who fill the grandstands. We hope we can bring you a stronger appreciation of what motor racing is really all about.
The quiet revolution of turbine-powered racing cars was launched in May 1967 by this red racer, dubbed the Silent Screamer. Now, May in Indiana means the Indianapolis 500 Racing Classic. It also means different things to different people, including some who come to see the racing. In the 1967 Indianapolis race, Parnelli Jones, driving the STP Turbo car, the world's first successful turbine-powered speedster, turned auto racing upside down. His drive ended abruptly within sight of the checkered flag and victory. A $6 gear case bearing failed under the powerful torque of the turbine engine. Stunning as the failure was, it didn't end the quiet revolution in racing. It simply fanned the raging flames of controversy. This is the super light 1968 version of the turbo car called the Flying Wedge. It was born in the storm of dissension that set the racing world on its ear. New U.S. Auto Club rules cut the power of the 1967 turbo car engine by 30%. In addition, Andy Granatelli and Colin Chapman faced the same power handicap in their new Flying Wedge racers. Reason for the engine penalty? The turbo cars were branded over-competitive, and air inlets were choked from 23.9 down to 15.9 inches. Turbo car drivers, like Art Pollard, had their jobs cut out for them, working the little engine up to racing speeds. Mechanics and turbine experts, like Fred Cowley, toiled around the clock to reduce weight, improve handling, and try to offset the power loss by every possible means. Early in the month of May, progress was slow, and the turbine revolution seemed stalled. In an adjoining garage, the clock was running 10 years behind the time, as another crew works on the oldest car at the track. It contrasts sharply with the space-age chargers of turbo team drivers. Men like Joe Leonard, who now tries for an extra ounce of speed from last year's racing superstar. This is the side-by-side turbo car, which has been made obsolete by another rule change that bars the wild chassis design. Rookie Gary Bettenhausen, son of a famous racing father, isn't trying to win the race in his unique dirt track car. He's just trying to pass his driving test for a spot on the starting line. Parnelli Jones, turbo car driver in 1967, resigned his ride for 68. He felt the car just wasn't fast enough to make the field. So Joe Leonard took over. He tries for faster and faster laps. He finally touches 166. Then, in the wink of an eye, the most famous car in all racing history is reduced to wreckage. A sad moment for Joe Leonard and for Andy Granatelli. He has seen a dream become a reality. But the idea of a turbine-powered racing car wasn't born overnight. Auto pioneer Henry Ford built this primitive turbine back in 1925. And Chrysler automotive engineers have been at work on turbines for years, solving problems in acceleration, braking, and metallurgy, all big tasks. These are the latest Chrysler turbine cars. The company built a fleet of them for private turbine testing and plans to push on with turbine development in autos. Across the sea, in England, engineers of the Rover Auto Company started early with turbine cars and have tested them in road racing. turbines now supply smooth, trouble-free power for workaday vehicles, such as this fire engine. Ford, after its start on turbines in 1925, is designing super trucks like Big Red. And at least 4 major companies in the truck field now have turbine designs on their drawing boards. Turbine engines, identical to the ones in the turbo car, power this streamliner of tomorrow, built for Canadian railroads by Montreal Locomotive Works. Canadian snowplows use the same engine. So do Navy vessels and high-speed pleasure boats. Turbine cars are welcomed in major U.S. road races today. History has been written by this Helmet turbine, running under an accepted international power formula. But total failure is the only harvest of some turbine experiments. This old Indy roadster was tried with turbine power in 1966. It failed to perform properly. And so did a brand new experiment by Carroll Shelby and designer Ken Wallace. They built a 3-car team to compete with Granatelli's STP turbines in 1968. But all 3 were withdrawn before qualifying. A turbine engine of totally different characteristics, burning exotic fuels, is now running on California drag strips. It proves very fast in short runs. The famous 24-hour endurance race at Le Mans in France has seen turbines run more than once. Graham Hill, top driver of the STP turbine team, has hundreds of miles of experience racing rover turbines in Europe. Now he prepares to put that know-how to work for the turbo car effort at Indianapolis in 1968. A series of reversals has all but shattered the bright early season hopes of the turbine men. An incident unrelated to Indianapolis cost the team the top driver of all time when Jimmy Clark died on a rain-swept track in Germany. Jackie Stewart, another European ace, cracked a wrist bone in Spain. Farnelly Jones resigned his ride in Turbo Car 40, critical of its power shortage. Joe Leonard, who cut his racing teeth on motorcycles, was picked to take Jones's place. Leonard, still shaken by the crash of Car 40, stepped into a new flying wedge. He sent the team spirit soaring with a smashing lap of 169.8 miles per hour, faster than Hill's best lap and a new Indy record. All this speed brought famous Mario Andretti over for a test ride in the wedge. Then Lloyd Ruby took some instruction and drove some hot laps in the turbine. Both Ruby and Andretti said they liked the car, despite earlier and vocal criticisms. But previous contracts, iron-bound in the tradition of racing, held them to piston car commitments. These new bursts of speed from the turbo cars put new wrinkles in the brows of piston men like Dan Gurney. A newcomer to Indy was Bill Vukovich, another son of a racing father. He has teamed up with J.C. Agajanian, also a famous name in racing, to field a supercharged Offie. His practice times in this Wagner Lockheed special look good. With rain and delays, bitterness about the turbine speeds crept through the piston camp. The new wedge turbine seemed ready to obsolete all of the racing design that had gone before. Overnight, grim determination replaced gloom. A record crowd arrived to see the conflict between the turbines and the piston engine camp. Cool Graham Hill went out to qualify early. He displayed typical daring by moving his engine idle speed to 80% of full power. Then he abused his brakes to slow his car in the corners. This system worked like a charm. It ended the throttle lag problem of the turbine. The car flew down the straightaways. Hill turns 4 blistering laps at an average of 171.208 miles an hour, a new track record, and a speed that plunged the piston camp back into darkness. Colin Chapman, shocked by the earlier deaths of ace Jim Clark and rookie Mike Spence, reacts strongly to Hill's smashing reversal of the turbine's run of luck. It begins to look like the racing revolution is back on the track and running at full speed once more. Immediately, Bobby Unser, loudest critic of the turbines, tries hard, but just misses Hill's qualifying mark. Mario tries to top Hill, but misses. So does Supertex, A.J. Foyt. Gurney accepts a slower speed, unhappily. Now, the turbine strategy. Hill qualified in cool morning air, so they hold Joe Leonard back until evening. The air is cool again, ideal for turbines. Leonard's times are spectacular. He turns one fantastic practice lap at 173 miles per hour, fastest speed in Indy history. He too is using the fast idle setting and smashes the brand new record of Graham Hill, a 4-lap average of 171.559 miles an hour. Parnelli Jones shares the great moment with his friend Joe Leonard. Andy Granatelli, leader of the turbine men, ends a big day when Art Pollard qualifies the third turbo car. The scalding speeds of the turbines put them 1-2 on the starting line. Now, other drivers attempt higher speeds than the cars will handle. Wiser drivers settle for less. Drivers like Bettenhausen, young Bill Vukovich in his Wagner Lockheed Special, and older heroes like valiant Jim Hurtubise, who finally qualifies with the only front-engine car to make the race, a unique machine of his own design and construction. Now, race day morning, the moment of truth. The supercharged piston engines of Bobby Unser and Lloyd Ruby can produce speeds nearly up to the turbine qualifying times. And the day dawns hot. Bad news for the turbine revolutionaries. The experts and the fans have made the turbines heavy favorites to sweep the field. But Granatelli, Chapman, and drivers Hill, Leonard, and Pollard know better. They can't race with the 80% full power setting at idle, which gave them such high qualifying speeds. If they dare try it for 500 miles, the brakes will fail early in the game. Leonard darts into the lead. But Hill and Pollard are lost among the charging Offie pack. Unser is an immediate underdog favorite. Leonard can't pull away. Suddenly, Bobby senses the truth and roars past the power-starved turbo car as the crowd goes wild. Leonard's four-wheel drive gives him an edge in the corners, but the car won't produce the power for speed on the straights. The pace tells on Andretti early in the race, and on Joachim Rindt. Hurtubise is done. So is Roger McCluskey. Now, Al Unser, Bobby's brother, who looked good with a new four-wheel drive system, ends his race against the unforgiving Indy wall. Leonard screams into the pits during caution laps for the Unser wreck. Bobby follows him in for fuel. Now Lloyd Ruby leads with his power-loaded Offenhauser. The hard pace kills Foyt's car. Graham Hill tries to gain time on the turns, goes out of control, and crashes his turbo car. He's unhurt, but it's a serious loss. Unser fuels again on the caution light. And now Leonard takes the lead away from Ruby. But Unser, a wealth of power at his command, easily repasses Leonard. Now Leonard pits, not for fuel, but to plead for more power. And Unser follows him in. This put Ruby back into the lead. But his engine can't take the punishment. That's Carl Williams in the middle of the track, and the field slows under the yellow. After a long stretch of slow running, the green flag falls and engines snap back to full throttle, all but Leonard's and Pollard's turbines. Leonard falters, pulls off the track. The racing revolution is done for the day. Unser, Gurney, and Dennis Holm, all piston-powered, are 1, 2, 3 for the checker. The turbine men are stunned. Seconds later, Pollard pulls off the track. He's the last turbo car. A triumph for the piston men. For Unser, a clear-cut victory despite a failing gearbox in perhaps the toughest race in all Indy history. A triumph, too, for Dan Gurney, who designed Unser's car and his own Olsonite Eagle. Andy Granatelli finally found the trouble. 2 broken fuel pump shafts. And now he fulfills his promise to keep on racing the turbo cars all during 1968, regardless of new restrictions imposed on them. By the time the turbines start at the 1-mile Milwaukee track, the USAC Rules Committee has demanded an outright turbo car ban, despite the weak turbine performance at Indy. Now at Milwaukee, a crash and fire which cost the life of driver Ronnie Duman. The turbines have again qualified high in the field, but they still face problems. In the restart after the crash, Leonard and Pollard run out in front 1-2, ahead of their piston adversaries. Have they solved their lack of power? Pollard's in trouble, spewing liquid. He gets the black flag, speeds into his pit for repairs. Leonard still clings to his lead. And Pollard, after precious time in the pits, roars back into battle again. He screams through slow-moving traffic. Obviously, both Pollard and Leonard are now racing with their engine idle speeds advanced in a desperate effort to be competitive. Temperatures from overheated brakes cause a suspension failure, and Leonard crashes. Unhurt, but through for the day. Now disaster strikes Pollard, whose car fails with success almost in sight. So it went, as the turbo cars traveled across the land from track to track on the USAC Championship Trail. To top the handicaps faced by the turbine racers, new decisions on the turbo cars came from the rule makers. The engine size was slashed again, this time to a puny 11.9 inches of air intake, a 50% cut from the original size of 23.9 inches. This made it impossible to plan or build new turbo cars for 1969. Next, the rule makers restricted four-wheel drive, an important element in the turbo car formula. Two penalties were imposed: smaller cross-section tires for four-wheel drive cars, and four-wheel drive was outlawed after 1969. Turbines could still race after 1969, but only if they were automotive in design. There are no automotive turbines, and if there were, they couldn't compete with the 600-plus horsepower of Indy piston engines. To all of this, Andy Granatelli and his turbine pioneers say they'll switch back to piston cars, but only to await the day when rules once more permit full exploration of new engineering frontiers at the proving ground of Indianapolis.